Welcome to the notes on multiplying rational expressions. So remember, rational expression is a fraction with polynomial in the numerator or denominator. Now we're going to learn how to multiply them. So the nice part about multiplication is you just have to multiply numerator by numerator, then denominator by denominator. Then what we want to do is we want to see if anything can factor or cancel out or reduce. So when I do the numerator, 25x times 1 is just 25x. And then 2 times y to the third is just 2 to the y to the third. Now you want to check, does anything cancel out? In this case, nothing does reduce or factor out. I just want to show you guys that example. Remember that when you multiply fractions, it's just numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. You don't need that. You don't need a least common denominator or just a common denominator in general. Okay, now this next one, going to get a little more complicated. Okay, so what I like to do for these is to do numbers first, because you can clearly see we're going to have things that are going to cancel out or factor out. So what I like to do is I like to do the numbers first. So I want to take my negative 7, then times 3. We're going to combine that. Then that's going to be times x squared. That's going to be times y to the fifth. Now, again, this is just a way to kind of organize for people that are struggling with factoring and reducing. On the bottom, I'm going to have my 5 times 14. And then I'm going to list the x first because we always list x before y. So it's going to be times x squared times y. Now, when it's organized like this, I'm hoping that you guys can recognize a little bit easier what's going to reduce, factor out, cancel out. We can see the x squared over x squared. Anytime we got the same thing top and bottom, we can get rid of that because that's going to be 1. So that's gone. You can see that this 1y will take away the 1 of the y to the fifth. Subtract it by 1. It's going to be y to the fourth now. And then we look at this, the 5 and 3, nothing's going to happen, but I can look at this 7 and the 14. 7 and 14 has a common factor of 7. So I can take out the negative 7, or 7 from negative 7. I still have the negative sign here. And 14, well, that's going to become a 2. So now to write my final answer, all I do is I just like to circle what we've got left. On top, we've got the negative sign, we've got the 3, and we've got y to the fourth. So when I rewrite that, that'll be negative 3y to the fourth. And then on bottom, I just got the 5 and the 2. And this is all multiplication, so 5 times 2 is 10. Oops, and I'll put that in blue. And that is your final answer. So using those exponent rules to cancel out and reduce. Okay, now, with simplifying radical expressions, we always had to factor first. The same thing is true here. So I'm going to take this x squared plus x. All right, I'm going to factor out an x. I'll be left with x plus 1. All right, on the bottom, I just have my 3x. Then it's going to be times. Obviously, nothing can do anything with the 6. But then this 5x plus 5, I can factor out. It has a GCF of 5. And always look to take GCF out first, especially with binomials. So I'm left with x plus 1. Now, some of you guys can see already things are going to cancel out, but I'm going to take that additional step, doing numbers first. So this will equal 6 times x plus 1, and that's going to be over 3x times 5 times x plus 1. And now you can see things line up. Anytime we have the same polynomial top and bottom or same expression, it'll cancel out. So those x plus 1s are going to cancel. You can see that this x right here will cancel with this x. We're still going to have the 5, which hopefully you guys can recognize that 6 and 3 will reduce. 3 is a common factor that goes into both. 3 goes into 3 once, so that's gone, and 3 goes into 6 twice, so that factor of 2 remains. So what are we left with? On top, I just have a 2. Everything else is gone. On bottom, I just have a 5. So all of that reduces to, or simplifies to, 2 over 5. And that's your final answer. One more, and then we're done. Okay, so 3x plus 3. Okay, GCF first. Factor out the 3. Left with x plus 1. On the bottom, I can factor out a 5x actually. All right, they each have a 5 and an x, and I'll be left with 1 minus x. And then on this side, okay, all right, on top, it's a trinomial. This is a trinomial here. I know it's going to double parentheses, but it's got the 2 in front, and I can't take out a GCF. How do we factor a trinomial like that? We've got a tic-tac-toe. So still doing the tic-tac-toe method. Take the first term, my 2x squared. Take the last term, which is minus 3. Multiply it across, which is negative 6x squared. I've got to find a term that multiplies a negative 6x squared but adds up to positive 1. That's going to be 3x minus 2x. And then I fill in the rest of the chart. What multiplies to 2x squared? Well, it's 2x and 1x, but I got to make sure in the right order. So my 2x will go there. My 1x will go there. 1x times 3 is 3x. 2x times negative 1 is negative 2x. So my final answers are right here. X minus 1 and 2x plus 3. Now, what do I do about this bottom one right here? Well, that's a binomial. There's no GCF, but it's a squared, and there's a subtraction. It's a difference of perfect squares. So we know it's going to be double parentheses. 2x times 2x goes into 4x squared. 3 and 3 goes into 9. And then remember, one's got to be positive, one's got to be negative. And at this point, we're almost done. But there's one piece I don't like. I don't like this 1 minus x. Remember, we always want to list the coefficient, or excuse me, the variable first. So over here, I'm going to do that. All right. So I'm simply, at first, I'm just going to rewrite it. I'm going to put the minus x first and then plus 1. Again, that's just switching the order. Again, we had 1 minus x. I just flipped the order. Now, I don't want this negative right here. So I'm going to factor out a negative 1. And when I do that, you factor out negative 1, it changes those signs. So that negative x becomes a positive x, and this positive 1 becomes a minus 1. So this is what I have to plug in over there. So I'm going to rewrite this as I'm going to put the negative sign in front, and I'm actually going to erase this part and put that as our x minus 1. So now let's see what we can cancel out. Well, I've got an x minus 1 here and x minus 1 there. I've got the 2x plus 3 there. 3 and the 5 can't do anything with. So now I'm going to rewrite my final answer. So on top, I've got a 3 and an x plus 1. So I'm going to go 3 over x plus 1. On bottom, I've got a negative 5x and a 2x minus 3. Again, I'll circle those for you right here and right here. So on bottom, my final answer is going to be negative 5x, 2x minus 3, and that is your final answer. I forgot the parentheses there. So that is how you multiply rational expressions.